Star Trek the Motion Picture on 4K Blu ray, the Director's Edition from 2022. And my cool Spock shirt. Look at that. If you can tell me where, how, and why I got this cool Spock shirt, then I will give you a 4K digital copy code from this for the motion picture director's cut. Just leave a comment that you sent me an email. Send me an email. My email is in the description of my channel and with your guess. And then I will give you the code if you guessed right. And I will give away the 4K digital copy of the theatrical version of this movie to one random commenter in the comment section on Friday, January 13th, 2023. So you can get the director's cut digital copy 4K if you tell me where, how, and why I got this cool Spock shirt. And then you can get the theatrical 4K digital copy code from the other box set just by leaving a comment, and then I will randomly select someone Friday, January 13th, 2023. Also, happy 2023. Happy New Year. This is my first movie review of 2023, and hopefully this will be my last movie review wearing glasses because I'm getting laser eye surgery tomorrow, so wish me luck on that. So I actually only recently saw Star Trek the Motion Picture. I mean, kind of recently, like within probably like 20 years ago, actually, when I was around 18-ish. But I grew up on all the other movies, all the other Star Trek movies, but I had just never seen the motion picture. And that might be because my parents didn't really like the first one. But what they did do is they bought a single VHS of Space Seed, the episode from the original series. And at my house, that was kind of the first Star Trek. And then you would go right into the Wrath of Khan after that. So that was kind of my first Star Trek. I knew it wasn't the first movie, but that's what I would watch first, and then Wrath of Khan and so on. So that's how I grew up watching Star Trek. And then I finally saw the director's cut like I said, about 20 years ago. And it wasn't my favorite, but that's when I saw it. So yeah, I grew up watching these other, let's see if I can focus on that, these other 5 movies over and over and over and over, along with Space Seed. Oh, and that Space Seed VHS tape that my parents bought it was like $80 or some craziness just for that single tape of that one episode. They bought it a long time ago. So I actually already bought the other 4K set that came with the first 4 movies, knowing full well that they were going to release more down the road. But I just could not resist. Resistance was futile, as it were. And I watched the theatrical version of the motion picture dutifully, and then the other 2, 3, and 4, and had a fascinating experience. So like a good obedient Star Trek fan, I also bought the 6 movie set when it came out. And then the reason I chose this set is because it had everything that I wanted. It had all 6 movies on 4K and Blu-ray, including the director's edition of the motion picture and the theatrical edition. My only quibble with the set is that on Star Trek 6, the 4K has the theatrical and director's cut, but the Blu-ray is just the theatrical. Because the internet tells me if I buy every single Star Trek disc release, that we will be a lot more likely to get like DS9 and Voyager on Blu-ray, etc. So I am being a dutiful Star Trek fan and buying all of it. All right, I digress though. Back to the motion picture director's edition on 4K. So in short, it looks out of this world phenomenal, pun intended. So they did a ground up restoration / remaster from the original camera negative. They remixed the sound into Dolby Atmos. And for the color grading, it has Dolby Vision. So the colors look outstanding, very vibrant, especially the parts at the end with V'ger where it's really, really red, or when that glowing probe thing is on the ship. Just the brightness is awesome with the Dolby Vision on this thing. So the director's edition is the absolute best final way to watch this movie. The theatrical on 4K also looked really good. It's just that this one is better. It's hard to tell on my phone, but as far as the director's edition being better, I mean, I've got a whole list here. The effects are better. The pacing is better. I think it looks and sounds better. Some people have argued that the theatrical looks a little better. Nope. The director's cut looks better for sure. Also, this is the director approved version. So they were notoriously pretty rushed to get this movie out. And so Robert Wise, the director, this is like his version of the movie. And so this is the one that I like watching. So I think the theatrical, I'll really never watch it again, except for like nostalgia or like film history, or to see, almost to do like a study between like what a director's edition can really be and all the tiny differences. But yeah, the motion picture is the best version. The director's edition of the motion picture is the best version. So I told a friend that I was going to watch this movie on 4K, and he said, "Great, now you can be super bored in Ultra HD." Fair point, Jacob. So I definitely hear what he's saying, but the more I watch this movie, the more I appreciate it. Kind of like Blade Runner. So the final word on the quality of this 4K disc and this like remaster and new director's edition is wow. Just the attention to detail on this new cut is astounding. And then there's an extra special features disc that is just totally loaded, and all the new stuff is absolutely worthwhile to look at, or the new commentary was really good. One thing that I really liked in the new commentary was that it talked about how we as a modern audience can relate more to this movie now than 1979 audiences probably could. And that's because of the themes of just how totally technologically plugged in we are, and how it's hard to have normal human reactions or interactions. So, like I said in the commentary, we relate more to the movie now as a modern audience, and it kind of talks about how the human touch thing is like a mystery to this super advanced robot, and how that is a beautiful thing and a rare thing, especially in such a plugged in society. So I like what Spock says to Kirk right here.
This simple feeling is beyond Phaedra's comprehension.
Ah, look at that. This is the core of Star Trek right there, these three and their relationship. They've got some brotherly love right there. You just don't see that in movies nowadays. You gotta make it weird. So one of the things I love about the cinematography in this movie are the split diopter shots. Look at this. So you got Sulu in extreme focus right up front, and then Kirk back here. Look at that shot. There's a bunch of these in this movie, and they look good. So I've always thought this big crew assembly scene is kind of silly, because in the TV show they had like their little TVs everywhere, and they would do announcements via speaker or on the little TVs. And so like I love the epicness of the motion picture, but at the same time the epicness also is a little bit funny, because you can tell they're just doing this assembly scene to be like, look at this big room in the Enterprise. All right, so as funny as I think this assembly scene is, there's some great precious little gifts that it's given us. For example, these guys with mustaches right here. Look at this thing. Boop. And then look at this mustache over here. This is a good one. Hang on. Right there. Look at that thing. Actually, a lot of the extras are pretty cool detailed aliens. Like, look at this scary looking guy. But check this out. I actually never noticed this. This is really cool. You got some like Native American Indian looking people. That's pretty awesome. Star Trek's always prided itself on having people from all cultures and countries. And yeah, the scene stays true to that. So it's a cool thing about Star Trek. All right, maybe they're having like a mustache competition on the ship or something, because there's a lot of mustaches in here. Also, look at this one. Look at that thing. And then I decided this guy back here, he just like he's like the janitor or whatever, and just wandered in and is like, oh, when's this meeting gonna be over? All right, my favorite shot in the movie is actually the opening scene, with the three Klingon battle cruisers confronting the cloud of doom. And then I love the Klingon music, which I can show for just a second. Right, but specifically the shot on this guy right here. How it just follows it like that. Oh, it's so cool. Look how detailed it is. Oh my gosh. All right, I muted it because they're going to get me. Anyway, this is an incredible shot. So it turns out this model, that ship, is 6 feet long. And again, the epicness of the motion picture lends itself to shots like that one. Hopefully I'll be able to show it all and they won't copyright get me. But no, that shot is amazing, and it sets this movie instantly apart from the TV shows. This has come a long way from the very smooth, not very detailed models from the original series. See, I love that shot. And then in the 4K with Dolby Vision, it looks even better. There's so much detail. Love it. This wormhole scene. Oh man, this scene goes on for a long time. A lot of people bouncing around in their seats. This is like one of the more uncomfortable parts to watch of the movie because it just goes on and on and on and on, and it gets like weird and slow motiony. Sometimes the way this movie plays out feels like I don't know if you've ever been to one of those places that like simulate Star Trek, like a space center type place where you have all the students are the crew. But sometimes where they're like, okay, we're going on the mission, and then it's like, oh no, a wormhole. So there's definitely a few parts in this movie that are just a little silly. Look at these background guys just jiggling their legs. Coming up here. Right here. I don't know if you could actually see that, but they were just like standing there, just like jiggling, like, ah. Anyway, I struggle with the wormhole scene. So when they fly through this V'ger ship forever, these shots they look so good in this version. I do like in this version how awesome the actual ship of V'ger looks, because I feel like in the theatrical one it's a little more confusing on what it looks like. But yeah, it kind of pops out of the cloud and looks pretty awesome. Okay, so I showed you my favorite shot. This here is my favorite scene in the whole movie. There we go, that looks better. These three getting together for the first time. This scene feels truly like the original series and true to all of their characters, like such.
Spock, you haven't changed a bit. You're just as warm and sociable as ever.
Nor have you, Doctor.
Okay, this is building up to my absolute favorite line of dialogue in here.
Please sit down. Gentlemen. The colonier desk. Sit down. Will you please sit down?
I just love how many times he has to tell him to sit down, and just that last time. that is so Kirk and Spock and Bones. This whole scene is perfect. It's also some good exposition dump, but just, will you please sit down? I mean, he wasn't that intense, but that's good. Boop. So the Voyager scene in here is a little silly, like when it's like, oh, it's called V'ger because some of the letters were covered up. That's kind of cheesy. So it just feels like a really epic episode of the original series. But even though it's cheesy, it's really like the themes of this movie are very powerful, like the next stage of human evolution and exploration, and all of technology being empty without human touch. So there's a lot of really beautiful themes in here. It's very epic. I just wish I liked this one more. I'm definitely growing to appreciate it. It's not my favorite one, but I've enjoyed it more and more. And the director's edition on 4K is the most rewatchable for sure version of this. Here's Dolby Vision shining. Also, another split diopter shot. Him in focus and her in focus. You can tell when there's a little blurry spot there. Yeah, Dolby Vision shines really well in these like extreme lighting parts because on a lower resolution or without the HDR, you start to get the colors squishing together. This hero shot of the ship will never ever get old. It's so cool. I don't know if I can even pick it up on my phone. Yes. I just wanted to feel like I was on the bridge with these guys. All right. Well, thank you for watching. It's been a long one. Live long and prosper. And wish me luck on the laser eye surgery.
To retinitis. Allergic to retinitis.